The power was out, which was standard for a humid Karachi summer night, but the silence was not. It was a thick, unnatural silence that swallowed the city's usual symphony of generators, horns, and shouting chaiwalas. Hamza, the pragmatic one with the chipped glasses, wiped sweat from his brow. He was perched on the rooftop of his apartment building in Gulshan, Iqbal, trying to coax a signal from his ancient flip phone. Beside him, Sale, the resident skeptic who always cracked a joke even when things were grim, was nervously scrolling through his social media feed on a tablet, powered by an emergency battery pack. Taha, the quiet, observant friend, was staring out over the dark expanse of the city. "I'm telling you, this isn't K-Electric," Sale muttered, his voice unnaturally low. "No power, no cell towers, no internet. We've been offline for 3 hours. It feels like someone hit the city's mute button." "It's a massive grid failure, Sale. It happens," Hamza said, though his own voice lacked conviction. He couldn't shake the smell. A pervasive, metallic odor, like ozone mixed with old blood. "Massive grid failure doesn't cause the walls to sweat red dust." Taha finally spoke, pointing. They looked down. The concrete parapet wall was weeping. A fine, rusty, red powder, almost like dried chili, was mixing with the humidity, creating thin rivulets of crimson sludge that dripped onto the street below. Just then, a sound broke the silence. It wasn't loud, but it was wrong. It was a wet, scraping shush that seemed to come from the main road near the civic center. "What is that?" Hamza whispered, reaching for a heavy, discarded plumbing pipe nearby. "Sounds like a 50-foot snail exfoliating on the asphalt." Sale joked, but he didn't laugh. His tablet, which had been blank, suddenly flickered to life. A single image appeared, a distorted, grainy satellite map of Karachi. Red blotches, pulsing faintly, were spreading from the coastline near Kimari and moving inland, following the major arteries. One blotch was centered right on the Karachi University Road intersection, less than a kilometer from them. The scraping sound intensified. It was now punctuated by a sickening crunch. "It's on the ground floor," Taha stated, his hand gripping Hamza's shoulder. They crept to the edge of the roof and peered down into the alley. The air was thick with the red dust and the metallic scent. Below them, illuminated by the single, failing street lamp on the corner, was the creature. It was immense, low to the ground, and moved on 1,000 tiny, chitinous legs that clicked and scraped against the pavement. Its body resembled a massive, segmented insect shell, but its surface was wet and strangely organic, coated in a thick, shimmering, iridescent black sludge, the same sludge that reeked of iron. But the horror was its head. It wasn't an insect's head. It was a mess of tangled, coiling tubes, each ending in a circular mouth lined with teeth that were not bone, but glassy, razor-sharp rock. They looked like shards of shattered beach glass. The creature was feeding. It was crouched over a family's abandoned Suzuki Balan, and the crunch they heard was the sound of the rock, teeth grinding through the metal chassis. The sludge it excreted seemed to dissolve the car instantly, absorbing the material back into its body. "It's a literal nightmare made of Karachi trash and forgotten dreams," Sale gasped, his breath ragged. "It's eating the car like it's a chocolate biscuit. It's absorbing the mass," Hamza realized, his mind racing. "It's getting bigger." The creature raised its head, the tube, mouth snaking and twitching. It hadn't seen them, but it had heard them. The metallic smell was now overwhelming. "We need to get out of the city," Hamza whispered urgently. "We need to get to the highway, the M9 motorway, before those red blots seal the whole area." Sale pointed at the tablet, which had updated. The largest blotch was now directly over the intersection of M.A. Jinnah Road and I. Chandigarh Road, the financial and historical heart of the city. "The main roads are dead. The city center is a kill zone," Sale said, his voice shaking. "We have to go through the dense lanes, Liaquatabad side, then try to cut across North Nazimabad." Taha, ever practical, pointed to the roof edge. "The creature is slow, but its hearing is sharp. We take the adjoining building's roof, jump 3 buildings over, and then descend through the back alleys of Federal B area." They moved across the rooftops, the city of lights transformed into a landscape of terrifying shadows. Every gust of wind felt like a whisper, every creak of metal like a warning. They descended into a narrow, dark alleyway, a classic, cramped Karachi lane, bordered by high brick walls and crisscrossed with drooping utility wires. The red dust was everywhere, coating the walls and making the air feel heavy. As they moved, they heard the shush. Shush getting closer, closer than it should have been. I thought it was slow, Hamza hissed, crouching behind a massive overflowing dumpster. It is, Taha replied, eyes darting. But there is another one, and another. A grotesque, slithering sound came from a manhole cover a few feet in front of them. The cover began to rattle violently, spinning and then flying into the air, landing with a splash in a pool of stagnant drain water. From the sewer emerged a smaller, but faster, version of the main monster. It was about the size of a large dog, but its body was pure, wet, shimmering black sludge, and its single-tube head was constantly expanding and contracting, sniffing the air. The drainage system, Sale choked out. They're using the gutters. It's like a biological sewer rat. The creature lunged at Hamza. Instinct taking over, Hamza swung the rusty plumbing pipe. The metal connected with the creature's sludge body, and a horrifying sound like wet cement mixed with shattering glass rang out. The creature didn't bleed, it fragmented. Shards of rock. Teeth flew off, replaced instantly by new ones that reformed from the black mass. The impact coated Hamza's arm in the noxious, iron-smelling sludge. Hamza cried out, grabbing his arm. Where the sludge touched his skin, it instantly caused a searing, electric-like burn. Go, leave me, he yelled, kicking out at the slithering mass. Taha didn't hesitate. He grabbed the largest stone he could find, one used to prop open a shop's iron shutter, and hurled it with all his strength at the creature. The stone slammed into the tube head, buying them a vital second. Sale, the battery pack, can you blind it? Taha ordered. Sale, his hands shaking but his mind focused, tore the bright LED strip from his battery pack and flung it onto the monster. The brilliant white light of the LED hit the creature, and it immediately recoiled, hissing and scrambling back down the manhole. It hates light, Taha shouted, or at least this kind of sharp, artificial light. They dragged Hamza, his arm agonizingly burned, and bolted down the alley. They found temporary shelter in an old, abandoned textile warehouse near the edge of North Nazimabad. The building was solid concrete, dark and silent. Hamza was delirious with pain, his arm swelling rapidly beneath the sludge. This is not a burn, it's something else, Hamza whispered, breathing heavily. It's trying to absorb me. It's an exothermic reaction, that thing's literally dissolving you with bio-acid. Sale frantically searched his backpack, pulling out old bandages and a bottle of mineral water. He poured the water over Hamza's arm. It only sizzled and evaporated in the sludge. Taha was on lookout, staring through a broken window pane at the eerily dark main road. He saw shapes moving in the distance, not just the slow, massive ones, but dozens of the smaller, faster ones, all slithering towards a central point. They are gathering, Taha reported, at the water pump intersection. There are too many to fight. We need a bigger light, something they cannot ignore. Sale looked at his tablet, which was now showing a chilling feed. It was a live broadcast from an unknown source, static, filled but clear enough. The broadcast showed a wide shot of the Clifton Beach, completely deserted. Then the camera panned to the Teen Talwar monument. It was coated in the red dust, and then they saw the mother monster. It was a mountain of black, shimmering sludge, its body integrated with the ruins of a half-eaten bus. It was so big it blocked the moonlight. From its central mass, hundreds of the tube, mouths snaked out, each one silently chewing on the concrete foundation of the Jahanagir Kathari parade. Then the static cleared, and a sound came through the tablet's speakers. It wasn't a roar or a scream. It was a high-pitched melodic frequency, like an angelic choir singing through a malfunctioning speaker. It was the original humming on a global scale. That's how they communicate. Hamza choked out. The frequency, it's a summoning. Suddenly, the signal cut out. But the sound remained, now coming from outside the warehouse. The mother monster's siren song was echoing through the silent, dead city, and the smaller creatures were responding. The tallest building, Taha said, a terrible realization dawning in his eyes. They are drawn to the highest point, the most concentrated piece of civilization. Karachi's pride, the gleaming MCB tower on I. Chandigarh Road was the target. The creatures, born of the city's underbelly, were coming to claim its crown jewel. They're going to consume the city's heart, and then what? Spread? Hamza asked, forcing himself to stand, clutching his burned arm. Sale looked from the small LED strip in his hand to the massive black shapes gathering in the streets. We need the biggest light source in the city. Something they won't just run from, but something that will disrupt that sound. The Mazar Quaid, Taha suddenly said. The mausoleum. The structure is pure white marble, elevated, and during the annual ceremonies they deploy massive stadium-grade floodlights. That's suicide. It's right near the main arteries they've sealed off. Sale protested. It's the only place big enough, Taha insisted. If we can redirect the power from the emergency backup to those floodlights and aim them at the mother monster, we might break the summoning frequency. Hamza looked at the sludge slowly dripping from his arm. He knew he was running out of time. We need a diversion. Sale, the tablet. Can you hack into the city's old traffic grid system? The signals are ancient, but they might still have a localized command. Sale, finally finding a purpose for his useless IT degree, nodded grimly. Give me 10 minutes and a clear line of sight to a junction box. I can make the entire Sadar area light up like a disco. Their escape route was a desperate, mad dash through the tiny back streets of Jamshed quarters, navigating around overturned rickshaws and abandoned cars. The mother monster's humming was now a physical pressure, making their teeth ache. They reached a side street near the Empress Market, which was surprisingly clear. Sale immediately found a working junction box. He plugged a specialized cable from his tablet into the dusty controls, his fingers flying across the screen, bypassing antiquated security. Done in 5 minutes. Every traffic light from Sadar to Garden East is going into strobing emergency mode. Sale yelled, snatching his gear. They found a functioning, abandoned car, the keys left in the ignition by a panicked driver. Hamza, despite his pain, took the wheel. They sped toward the Mazar Quaid, a beacon of hope and a monument of despair. As they reached the outer circle, the diversion kicked in. All at once, the central city was convulsing in a chaotic, blinding light show. Red, yellow, and green lights flashed with insane rapidity. The smaller sludge monsters stopped. The blinding, confusing light seemed to break their focus. They began to turn away from the Mazar, shambling towards the flashing chaos of Sadar. It worked. Sale screamed over the engine. The light confused their collective mind. But the mother monster was different. It had paused for a moment near the TDF GAR building, but then its massive, mountainous body began to move again, ignoring the small lights, drawn only to the core target. They crashed through the main gate of the Mazar Quaid complex. Hamza slammed the car to a halt near the white marble structure. The air here was cleaner, the structure itself somehow holding the darkness at bay. Taha pointed to a tall, reinforced steel panel on the side of the lawn. Emergency floodlight control. Sale, power. Sale, still clutching his tablet, rushed to the panel, finding the ancient, labeled wires for the main stadium lights. Hamza joined him, using his good hand to hold the wires steady. The mother monster had reached the nursery intersection and was crawling rapidly toward them. Its humming was now a painful high-frequency whine, a final, desperate call. Suddenly, a sewer monster burst from the lawn drainage beside them, its rock, teeth snapping. Taha threw himself at it, holding the creature down with his entire body, screaming in effort. The light now. Sale frantically connected the wires. A spark, a deafening surge of power, and then the Mazar Quaid's massive, multi-directional floodlights roared to life. Not just the main 4, but every single backup lamp, bathing the monument and the surrounding area in a brilliant, searing white, yellow light, bright enough to mimic the afternoon sun. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The mother monster, just a few hundred feet away, let out a silent, agonizing shriek. The light hit its sludge body, not dissolving it, but hardening it, instantly calcifying the shifting, dark mass. The creature's humming stopped. Its immense body froze, its thousands of legs snapping into rigid stillness. The coiling, tube-like mouths became fixed, crystallized rock. The creature Taha was wrestling exploded in his hands, not into sludge, but into a cloud of the fine, chalky, white-red dust, leaving Taha momentarily buried. Then, the final, deep-seated horror set in. The immense, now frozen mother monster began to collapse, not in a crash, but in a slow, gravity-defying crumble. The solidified sludge broke apart into millions of tiny, dry, chalky white pieces, not rock, not metal, but calcified bone meal. It hadn't been eating metal, it had been absorbing life. The red dust wasn't rust. It was powdered, desiccated human remains, the silent victims of the city's ancient hunger, now made manifest. Silence returned, but this time it was the sound of exhaustion, not dread. Hamza, Sail, and Taha lay on the white marble of the mazar, staring at the white powder that now coated the intersection, a chilling monument to the city's hidden, hungry history. Hamza looked at his arm. The black sludge had dried, turning into a brittle, gray scab that cracked off easily, revealing raw, but clean skin underneath. The cleansing light had saved him. Sail picked up a handful of the white powder. Karachi, the city that hides its dead under its streets, only to have them rise up and try to eat the living. He let the dust fall through his fingers. Taha sat up, coughing out the fine, white-red dust. He looked at the main road, where the remnants of the mother monster lay. We saved the city, but what happens when the power goes out again? Hamza looked at the great white dome of the mazar, a symbol of permanence in a city of chaos. He knew. We leave the floodlights on, Taha. Hamza said, his voice flat. We make sure the light never, ever goes out again. And so, as the sun finally broke over the Arabian Sea, painting the sky with the colors of a new, terrified dawn, Hamza, Sail, and Taha, three exhausted friends, left the sacred white marble. They left the city under the protection of a blinding stadium-grade floodlight that would burn for weeks, a new, permanent vigil against the darkness that slumbers beneath the foundations of Karachi. They didn't talk about the monster. They talked about buying a better generator,